beautiful. Now, what it actually is like, it's Eichelkraut, but that's not easy at first glance.
So we have an Obzon aggro mirror match. A bit on Steven Neal, we were talking with him before as a Wisconsin player. One of the things I've always been impressed with playing against him is he's a very patient player. And I think by and large, he's not attracted by flashier or more exciting lines. And that approach really carries him far in his games.
Neal on the plate here. Sandstep Citadel on the Plains. He'll play a Fleecemane Lion. Round number 7 here from Milwaukee underway. Eichelkraut with a Temple of Silence to begin. He'll play a Forest, and he has a Fleecemane Lion. So we are certainly in the Obzon aggro mirror. Now, the mirror breaker a lot of the time is Wingmate Rock. Both players have 2 in the main deck.
2 copies on each side. So that will be interesting. There's an Anjani Mentor of Heroes in Steven Neal's list, not one on Eichelkraut's side. There are slight differences, but a lot of this is going to be pretty grindy.
A lot of the times in the mirror, it might be first person to Elspeth or first person to Wingmate Rock. Don't want to make it that simple because there's a lot of interaction here, like Jamoka's Command, Fleecemane Lion, taking out the other Fleecemane Lion, coming across for 4 points of damage. But a lot of the time, it's the first player to play a Wingmate Rock, especially when rated, who's able to win. Eichelkraut without a board right now, though he does have a copy of Windswept Heath.
Yeah, it's the disadvantage of going second here is you really can open yourself up to some nasty Dromoka's commands. It will cost Andy life points. It may not lose him the game, though, as long as he can keep pace on creatures. Their spell counts are still the same. Each one's playing 1 spell a turn. And as long as Andy doesn't get too low on life, this won't be a problem.
For Eichelkraut, we might see Anafenza here. And there may be a Siege Rhino after that. So it's not a bad start. And if he was on the play, it would actually be a great start.
Right, it would be great on the play.
There is Anafenza.
Yeah, there's just going to be a lot of trading, really, with cards here.
Case of Koilos, the draw here for Neal. He'll play an Urborg, come across in the red zone. Looks like no blocks.
Just a little surprised to see no block there because of the ability of Fleecemane to go Monstrosity next turn. But for Steven Neal, it will be a follow-up Siege Rhino, and that'll put a lot of pressure down, Andy down to 8.
Yeah, I guess the question I have here from Eichelkraut is if you're not blocking Fleecemane Lion there, what are you looking to accomplish with the Anafenza? That's the concern I have because...
Right. I would have wanted to see things trade.
Is it going to get any better than right now?
The worry that your opponent would have a combat trick, I mean, it will still cost Steven Neal his turn to play whatever combat trick you would have.
Here's a Siege Rhino to set the life totals back where they were, 11 to 20. So back to Neal we're going to go. Hangerback Walker the draw. Case of Koilos the land. And you see Steven just going to kind of shrug the shoulders and say, yeah, I'm getting in the red zone here. If you want to block my Fleecemane Lion, I can make it monstrous. And this is my fear with Anafenza because now we're in a spot where for Eichelkraut, there are no good blocks with it, really.
Right. There's an Obzon Charm in Steven Neal's hand. It's going to be excellent.
It looks like he's going to go plussing here to make Fleecemane Lion a bit larger and to make Siege Rhino a little bit bigger, to have Siege Rhino win in combat. The follow-up is a Hangerback Walker, and we're going to head back Eichelkraut's way.
And this has been a pretty straightforward game for Steven Neal. By virtue of going first, all his combat tricks have been live, and he's keeping Eichelkraut on the back foot.
Temple of Silence here for Andy. Take a look at the top card. It'll become the bottom card now from the Scry.
Yeah, and this deck's not able to play multiple spells in a turn very easily, so while he has cards left, it just won't be able to deploy them very quickly. Anafenza does not have great blocks here. And Hero's Downfall's in Steven Neal's hand on top of that. I do like how he's positioned his counters so that even through a kill spell, he has Andy dead this turn. 2 5s into 1. As opposed to, say, a 6 of 4 into 1 wouldn't do it.
There's Hero's Downfall. Get Anafenza off the battlefield.
All right, team swings in.
Yep.
1 kill spell won't do it. Can Andy do 2? He cannot.
Steven Neal going to win game number 1 here over Andy Eichelkraut. The Obzon aggro mirror thus far does go to Neal as he is up a game. We'll take a look at the sideboards here and what look to be pretty similar deck list. I've got a Glare of Heresy, 2 Tragic Arrogance, 2 Herald of Torment, 2 Duress, 2 Self-Inflicted Wound, an Ultimate Price, 2 Elspeth Sun's Champion, and 3 copies of Thoughtseize. I think Elspeth, the clear-cut favorite here.
Yeah, Elspeth is great in this matchup. Both players want to be in a spot where they are playing a slightly bigger game plan than their opponent, ending in Elspeth. So we look at the sideboards, they have similar cards on each side. Elspeth Sun's Champion, Self-Inflicted Wound, Tragic Arrogance. I believe we'll see this coming up from both players.
Yeah, as I said, very, very similar deck list, similar goals in mind with Wingmate Rock and Elspeth and getting off the fast starts. And the die roll does play a role in things here. So Eichelkraut will be on the play for game number 2. So we'll see if he's able to take advantage of that.
Yeah, absolutely. Said that before, Andy, or rather Steven's Dromoka's commands and Obs on Charms were just so much better that game by virtue of going first.
Well, these players will sideboard up and get ready here for game number 2. In the meantime, we will talk about Star City Games and the very popular game night promotion every week in September. You get the Kraken if you'd like, if you do play in your local game night. Now, it is too late to get signed up for this one. However, if you do want to get signed up here for the next couple of months, you can definitely do that. In October, we've got the Hippo, our favorite, at least my favorite, even though I am coming around to our November promotion here with the Otter von Bismarck. If you'd like to go and pick that up at your local store or get signed up for game night, StarCityGames.com/game night is where you can find more information, or you can contact one of your Star City Games organized play representatives. December will be out soon enough because September's almost over, and it'll have a bit of a holiday feel for you. It's actually, I say this a lot. Maybe it's because I just get stuck in airports all day, but you know, it's almost October, which is truly horrifying. Where is this year gone?
Yeah, it's
like
well, we had our season 3 envy already. If that's how, if you want to pass the time that way.
Well, I just like I have a very, very vivid recollection of us covering the Players Championship.
And now it's coming up again.
Yeah, like it wasn't that long ago that we were covering those matches and crowning Brad champion, and you know, it was a great tournament and we all enjoyed ourselves, and it just, you would think that that was a long time ago since it was like 9 months ago, and it's like, no, just the next one's almost here, and it's just crazy to think about. You know, we're going to be through September here in a second because we've got this tournament, then the pre-release is next weekend, where there's no show in the Open Series, and all of a sudden it's Indy and then Battle for Zendikar here. Like,
right.
Battle for Zendikar spoiler weeks didn't even felt like they took very long.
Yeah, suddenly the whole set's out.
Yeah, it's just, okay, it's all here.
Yeah, rotation definitely snuck up this time of year.
And rotation, with the way it's going to do, like the changing schedule now too. So it's
Yeah,
going to make it feel like it's even faster.
The new schedule is great, to be honest. I do like that.
No, I like it a lot. We're going to have more shakeup, but what's also really good about that schedule too is just, you know, if a deck does become dominant like a mono black devotion or mono blue devotion was,
exactly,
it won't be like that forever.
There was a situation, I think, last year where Jeremy Dezani's Pro Tour winning Theros deck, 3 Pro Tours later, nearly the exact same 75, almost top-8'd again.
Yeah.
And you're thinking, okay, well, that's cool. But at the same time, you'd like to think that there has to be more evolution than that.
Yeah, that format was particularly poor as far as evolution is concerned, which was unfortunate. You know, it really just blocked a lot of decks out. But in this format that we're watching right now, even though we're watching an Obs on Aggro Mirror, you know, we've seen Goblins today, we've seen Mono Red, we saw Mono White Devotion. Like, we've seen a little sampling of everything, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
And that's going to make me miss this format. I know I spent a lot of time here in the booth, but I do wish I would have gotten to sling some spells during this format.
This one's been pretty good.
I'm super hopeful for the next one.
And I do think there'll be a lot of the big hits of this format will continue going. I would expect Obzon to continue to be a tier 1 deck.
Me too. I think it'll change what it looks like. You know,
somewhat, yeah, but but maybe not even by that much. Like, it'll remain to be seen.
And Siege Rhino's not going anywhere.
Right. Sandstep Citadel and Siege Rhino are still a great pair.
Fleeceman Lion is where Eichelkraut is going to start. For Neal, a Hangerback Walker. So let's see what Andy can put together on the 3rd turn of the game. Does he have an untapped land, maybe into an Anafenza? He does have a copy of Self-Inflicted Wound, but Hangerback Walker doesn't really care too much about that. Fleeceman Lion going to come into the red zone. Neal going to fall down to 17. For Eichelkraut, could just play Herald of Torment, though. It is interesting to see how he wants to go about using that here in the matchup, because a lot of the time it's just used to bestow instead of just being cast straight away on turn 3, but that's what he's going to do here.
Herald, the card that's come out of the sideboard here. And cards like Hangerback Walker do feel slow in the matchup. And we see this now looking at Steve and Neal's side. You know, when it's turn 2 Fleeceman on the play for Andy and a turn 2 Hangerback from Steven, it doesn't feel like he's fighting the fair fight.
Steven just going to pass the turn back. It's a really unfair fight now because he doesn't have a third land. And he's got a lot of 3-drops in hand. A couple copies of Anafenza, Hero's Downfall, Obzon Charm, and no mana to cast them. Eichelkraut starts with a Stance Up Citadel. Now he'll come into the red zone with both creatures. No blocks to be had here by Neal, so Neal will take 6, fall down to 11. And Eichelkraut will just pass the turn back. Here's an activation of Hangerback Walker. It's a 2-2 now. Eichelkraut with Hero's Downfall at the ready. We'll see how he wants to go about using this, because he could have played Hangerback Walker this past turn and elected not to.
Yeah, on Steven's side, draws up to an 8th card, is going to have to discard.
Not exactly how Steve Neal drew it up here for game number 2.
Yeah. High upside, his hand had multiple Siege Rhinos.
Maybe discard an Anafenza. Pass the turn back over to Eichelkraut, who will take 1 on upkeep from Herald of Torment. Time to draw.
Well, the good news on Steven's side is he can, in theory, block and pump Hangerback. It seems very unlikely that this will happen.
And Hero's Downfall.
And he's so far ahead that he can afford to make this play.
Yeah, 2 Thopters are going to be made here from Steve Neal because Hangerback died. But as you mentioned, he's so far ahead that he doesn't even mind this being the case. Neal will draw a copy of Caves of Koilos. And that's a 3rd land, which is certainly helpful, but with 2 Pain lands out there and already at 8, he is not going to be able to cast very many spells this game.
Yeah, check quick on Andy's side for Urborg. Doesn't show one. So casting colored spells comes at a big cost for Stephen Neal.
Anafenza, for example, right now would be 2 damage. Same thing can be said for Obzon Charm. Heck, even Siege Rhino would be really, really tough to cast. Doesn't have a 4th land, of course, but it would be a painful one. Neal kind of surveying his options to figure out if there's a way for him to get back into this game. Obzon Charm and Hero's Downfall will certainly be useful, and some chump blocking can take place with those Thopter tokens, but I have to imagine that there is an avenue for victory here, but it seems pretty hard to find. Because you almost want to start by just killing Fleeceman Lion so you can take the monstrous ability off the table while Eichelkraut is tapped out. It looks like Neal's going to go with Anafenza. Take 2 to cast it.
Well, Steven has to play optimistic Magic at this point, thinking, okay, if I continue getting the draws I need and my opponent just doesn't have answers to what I'm doing, what is the best card to have at this point? He's committed to probably chump blocking Herald of Torment for a while, hoping that he can get some, maybe a Fairy Will trade with Fleeceman Lion or a chump block on it. Maybe if he draws Urborg next turn. Now, unfortunately for him, Self-Inflicted Wound is in Andy's hand.
That's a beating right there.
That'll put Steven down to 4.
I guess if you're Steven, and this is a game you're likely to lose anyway, at least you know about Self-Inflicted Wound for the next game.
It's information. Obzon Aggro is, at this point, so much of a stock deck. I mean, you look at these 2 player sideboards, and they have all the same cards in them. I don't think there's too much education to be gained here. You're hoping that Andy plays some oddball of a card, and you see that. That'll give you extra information, but Self-Inflicted Wound really isn't much of a tell.
And Eichelkraut will win game number 2 here against Stephen Neal. Obzon Aggro Mirror getting ready for game number 3, but this time Neal will be on the play, so perhaps he sideboards a little bit differently, given that he will be on the play this game. Take a less of a defensive approach if he sided into one. Being on the play is clearly pretty important in this matchup. I don't know if it's as big of a deal as it is in some other matchups, but in this matchup, it definitely plays a role. I think almost certainly. Well, as these players do shuffle up here for game number 3, we will take a look at the Star City Games newsletter, your source for Magic the Gathering news. A lot of focus on the Open Series here in the newsletter, where you can get the latest on the Open Series, watch the Open Series match of the week, Receive some exclusive deck lists and content this month from Gerard Fabiano. Catch up on all the event results and get an exclusive Cardboard Crack comic. Best of all, it's free to sign up for StarCityGames.com/newsletter for more information about that. As we get ready here for game number 3, now I know you shifted into Abzan control a little bit. You're an Abzan aggro guy.
No, I mean, as far as like what I would like to play, or do I think it's a good deck?
Would you play it?
I'd rather try to beat Obs on aggro than play Obs on aggro.
Okay. Is there a good way to go about doing that?
Obs on control is a start.
Yeah.
Which is a similar deck but going bigger. I think you would want to try to meta against specific parts of the deck. No, its cards are powerful enough that it has no horrible matchups.
Are you scared of Hangerback Walker out of this deck at all? This has been like the big talk of the town.
Yeah, Obs on aggro. Hangerback Obs on aggro is very good. I mean, it depends what strategy you're on as whether or not you're scared of Hangerback Walker. We saw the blue-red mill deck play against Obs on aggro, and I would say that deck is definitely not scared of Hangerback Walker.
Yeah, I think that's a huge appeal to that deck.
Out of Obs on control, Hangerback Walker is certainly more of a concern.
Yeah, Hangerback Walker really after the Pro Tour became a really big deal. Blue-red Thopters, I think, had a lot to do with it, but then people just started trying it and everything, and a lot of hype about it. And I'm not saying it's bad or anything. I think it's actually quite good, and we're going to see it for quite a while. I don't know. It feels like a kind of an unnatural fit in this deck to me.
Hangerback?
Yeah. I don't know why.
Yeah, I mean, I think we saw it that game where you had a 3-3 facing off against a 1-1, and it seems weird that your 2-drops would be this 3-3, which is predicated on just being very big at its mana cost, and then a 1-1 for 2, which is a very small creature. That they'd go in the same strategy seems counterintuitive.
Because if you look at that game, what did Hangerback Walker do that game? Not much of anything.
Yeah, well, I mean, it had a turn where it prevented 3 damage and got 2 Thopters and got a card from Andy's hand. That was actually a pretty reasonable turn for Hangerback Walker.
But I guess if that's the best it can be, in this matchup, maybe that's the best it can be, which is not all that great. But in other matchups, perhaps it's a lot better.
It forces Andy to Hero's Downfall, which I don't think is the card he'd want to spend that on.
Okay. That's legitimate.
Because otherwise he really couldn't let Fleecemane Lion trade with Hangerback there when they were both 3-3s. That would be horrible.
Yep.
They'd trade the 3/1/1s with then gang block the Herald of Torment.
And that would probably be lights out for the game.
Yeah, I don't think Hangerback gets out of control. I think the threat of Hangerback dominating a board forces the players to make plays that would otherwise be weak.
We've talked so much about Battle for Zendikar and the new mana bases that are going to be showing up and all these crazy things you can do. And Hangerback Walker has to slot itself in there somewhere, even though it doesn't care about the new mana bases. So I'm really interested to see where that card's going to go, because so many people are going to try to stretch their mana bases. Can I play Siege Rhino and Mantis Rider in the same deck? I mean, probably, but do you still want to try to fit Hangerback Walker into a deck like that? Steve and Neal going to start off with a Temple here. Top card going to go to the bottom as game number 3 is underway. A Temple of Silence here for Eichelkraut. Hill Scry. That card might be staying on top. And it looks like it is.
In both games, we've seen the player on the play really run away with them. We're going to look at Eichelkraut's hand first here.
Thoughtseize here from Neal. Eichelkraut's got a Wingmate Rock, which is a premier threat in the matchup. Hangerback Walker, Herald of Torment, Siege Rhino, Abzan Charm, and good mana there in Sandstorm Citadel in a Forest.
Good curve to work up toward right now. It can be picked apart, but only a little. Interesting to see what the fact that Steven doesn't have a 2-drop. He played this Thoughtseize on turn 2 is good for Andy. His deck, his hand's a little weak on early game.
Steven's got another Thoughtseize in hand, so he's boarding a lot of discard.
Thoughtseize is okay here, but as we've seen, tempo on the board has been very important in both games. The losing player has lost with many cards in his hand each time. So I'm not sure you want to spend too much time trading your cards and your mana for their cards that they didn't spend mana for. What I do like is that the Thoughtseize was good early, and it should be good late. As long as he fires this off before turn 5 from Andy, Steven should be fine.
One-Swept Teeth here from Neal. He'll sacrifice that. Plains or Forest on the way. He'll get a basic Plains. Does have an Anafenza that was drawn this turn that he could cast. Could also fire off that other Thoughtseize. Knows about the Abzan Charm in Eichelkraut's hand, so Anafenza would be dead on arrival if Eichelkraut would like to kill it.
I think spending your mana may be the most important part. You don't want to Thoughtseize on 3 mana. You'd rather wait and play a Thoughtseize in a 3-drop with 4 mana. And cards are going to trade here, so that this trades with Obzon Charm is acceptable.
Okay. Temple of Malady, the draw here from Eichelkraut. There's a basic forest. You can just pass the turn back with Obzon Charm at the ready. Neal picked up another land there. Another Windswept Heath. Here comes Anafenza. Obzon Charm's going to take care of that. See if Neal wants to fire up this Thoughtseize now. He'll start by sacrificing Windswept Heath. And there's a basic forest. Perhaps a Siege Rhino on the way. Could also just be Thoughtseize and Morph Den Protector. Yep, there's Den Protector face down. And now here is Thoughtseize.
Right, so now he can... It'll be interesting if he gets the Rhino or the Wingmate Rock. Rhino's the best... There's trades for all of them, I suppose. Herald's only can play next turn. Rhino is a pound-for-pound great card. Wingmate Rock is the trump. He'll go for Siege Rhino. It's kind of splitting the difference. But it does mean that if... I suppose if Andy plays a land and it's Herald next turn, Steven will probably have to recur the Thoughtseize to take care of Wingmate Rock.
And get it back with the Den Protector?
Yeah. You can't let your opponent get a pair of 3/4 flyers.
Not in this matchup.
Right. And you see Andy drawing Llanowar Wastes for the turn, and will have Herald this turn. And if Steven doesn't re-Thoughtseize, then he will get the full 6 power.
Urborg the draw.
Steve.
Neal doesn't have any of the... Well, I was going to say he doesn't have any of the power cards.
Oh, no, he's got 3 Den Protectors going. It's right, because they don't feel like the power cards, but they are.
Yeah. It doesn't beat you over the head like a Siege Rhino or a Wingmate Rock does. Looks like Den Protector's going to unmorph right now. It'll get a counter. Thoughtseize going to come back. You had a feeling this was going to happen here.
It had to be Thoughtseize or a kill spell, and he doesn't have a kill spell in the yard. Ideally, he would get back an Obzon Charm or something like that.
Wingmate Rock's going to bite the dust. Eichelkraut's hand, just 2 lands, Temple of Malady, and Atlanta War Waste.
Yeah, Steven has taken a lot of incremental damage. He's Thoughtseized 3 times. He's about to get hit by a Herald of Torment. This has not been completely free.
I guess the race is on. Eichelkraut's got to take 1 on upkeep.
Yeah, if Steven draws a kill spell in the next 2 turns, he should be set. Well, he should have a start. Andy's draw of Siege Rhino is very good here.
There's a Temple. Top card goes to the bottom. And now here comes the Rhino. So now Neal's down to 6.
Yeah, that's problematic. He probably needs a kill spell this turn now. He could, he can downfall, buy it back, downfall again. But it's got to be here. And Anafenza, I'm not sure that will cut it.
Yeah, not quite what the doctor ordered. Anafenza, Den Protector, they can team up on the Siege Rhino, but right now no answer to the Herald of Torment here for Neal. All those Thoughtseizes, 3 of them cast this game. He's dealt himself quite a bit of damage. And it looks like he might be playing Den Protector face up now. Can't imagine he's thrilled with this. I think it's reasonable to do so. And he will. Well, Eichelkraut's got a lot of ways to just win the game this turn.
Siege Rhino would do it.
Another Herald.
Another Herald.
Bile Blights.
It's really good.
Yeah.
It will force Steven to chump his board away.
Everything's coming in. Yeah, this Bile Blight's insane. Yep. Kill your Den Protectors and now kill your Anafenza.
Everything's gone. Steven will be at 3. And at this point, a kill spell, I don't think will save it for Steven.
Yep.
He may be drawing dead.
Yeah, I don't think there's a card. Like, Tragic Arrogance doesn't do it. Lanarway certainly doesn't do it. And Eichelkraut's going to win this match here over Stephen Neal, 2-1. The Abzan Agramir goes to the player on the left, and for Eichelkraut, on the 6-1 there with some timely draws, and was a pretty close game.
Well, we saw Steven with a Den Protector heavy hand, and that can be very great in the mirror as long as you have a kill spell to recur with it. The problem was the only thing he could recur was Thought Seizes, which was very good at answering Andy's hand, but it could not answer the one creature Andy resolved, and it couldn't answer the top of Andy's deck.
Congratulations to Andy Eichelkraut on his win. Moving on to 6-1 here with 2 rounds left to go. At the very least,